I've learned something from every experience. The biggest boon and the biggest bane of my existence is that I believe in trying everything once. I went into Chalang mode with the first business. First business venture was an absolute fail.
Okay.
Verified wasn't my first product venture. I've always been very passionate about being able to put India first with a certain product.
Influencer as a word has been around for years, but only in the recent years it's taken all over our social media platform, right? But people don't really understand the difference in what it was earlier and how it is now. But luckily for us, as he mentioned, we have a first generation content creator and influencer with us today. So big round of applause for her here. So I was just talking to Anam about this, and I've stalked you for the last couple of weeks. I think I've gone through your Instagram, your YouTube, your LinkedIn, and my God, what a journey you've had. You've gone from being a VJ to a social media intern to an e-commerce consultant and a marketing consultant, and now you're a successful content creator and influencer with 300K followers and your very own brand verified. So do you want to tell our students how you managed to accomplish all of this?
It's been quite a journey because I feel like I've been in the content space as a creator for about 12 years, but I really have been in the content space in general for close to 15.
Wow.
I was one of those people that could never sit still. So I started working when I was in my first year of junior college, and any internship I heard about, I applied for. I've transcribed radio ads. I have gone around from college to college trying to recruit other interns for CNN. I've done customer representation for the Lodha group with Network 18. Like you think of, I've recruited for call centers I said yes to everything. So I'm a big believer of saying yes to everything once,
Okay.
trying things out, and then figuring out whether I want to do more of that or no.
Okay.
So like I remember when I was an intern at a very popular PR agency in India, it's called the Edelman Group. And I, at that point of time, wasn't even into like cars. I wasn't as interested in cars, and they put me on the Audi account. And I was like, I'm doomed. I know nothing about cars. I hate reading newspapers. And I thought at that point of time that PR was all about going to parties and network with people. So I said, maybe I'll get to do this. It wasn't that at all. I hated it.
Okay.
I went through my internship, but it taught me so much, nevertheless. So I feel like whether I've said yes to being a VJ for a travel show or on Channel V or being a content creator or saying yes to being a consultant when I didn't know what a consultant did at that point of time, I've learned something from every experience. And I feel like somewhere, even though I may not have chosen that particular path to be on permanently for the long run, I've always taken something away from it. And that's been a very big advantage that I've managed to secure.
So I think the biggest takeaway for your year is say yes to everything. At least try everything once. And whether it works out or not is a different story. You'll get probably where Anam is.
Yeah, I mean, you don't have to get married to your internship, right? Like you can opt out in 3 months and say, I learned this. It goes on your CV. I think from first year junior college to the half of my second year of BMM, because I graduated with a degree in BMM, I did about 14 internships. So for me, it was like, I want to try everything. And I had no social life also. So I need to say that because otherwise, like, how did I? So yeah, I said yes to everything at least once. I still have that habit. The biggest boon and the biggest bane of my existence is that I believe in trying everything once.
Is that how your brand verified happened?
Yeah. But that also happened in a way because my first business venture was an absolute fail.
Okay.
Verified wasn't my first product venture. So in 2000 and I want to say 13, when the blog space was just starting to pick up. And I'm saying blog space because at that point of time, I don't even think Instagram existed in 2013. What year did they launch?
I think it was, but it was very in its nascent stage. It was
Facebook was really big.
Yes.
I had started a marketplace.
Okay.
And I said, I can do this. I've got the followers for it. At that point of time, it felt like having a lot of followers.
Yeah.
And I had done a test run where I would source products from different parts of the world and I would sell them through Facebook albums.
Okay.
And I was selling out. So I said, I can build this into a full-fledged e-commerce setup.
Okay.
And take commissions of sales, but do it while sourcing from other brands.
Right.
It was an absolute fail. That business shut down in close to 6 to 7 months.
Okay.
I couldn't keep up with what was happening. I was selling stuff, but I didn't know how to balance the bandwidth
Okay.
because it was a two-person team, me and my mom, who was nice enough to help me. And I had a friend, really, and I had a friend who would help me when she was free.
Okay.
But I didn't understand how to manage supply chain, demand, social media. My blog was taking a hit because I was spending all of my time doing this.
Okay.
So I literally shut that website down in its 7th month. I remember saying, no, this is not working. I need to accept it. I need to cut my losses and move forward.
And then Verified happened a couple of years later.
Much, much later. Verified happened. We launched Verified in October 2021.
Okay.
Verified is my clean vegan beauty brand. I've always been very passionate about being able to put India first with a certain product. And with a lot of the products that those of us who wear makeup in the room will agree that when we buy international brands, they are not India first. Whether it comes to our weather, whether it comes to our skin type, skin tone, they are not manufactured for and temperature checked and controlled and all of that according to our weather.
Correct.
And I was really passionate about getting into the technical nuances of how to formulate with India at its core. And I started working on that in 2017. And I took 4 years to put capital together, to do research.
4 years.
Yeah. Getting into cosmetics is really, really expensive. And mine is a completely self-funded brand. So I wanted to make sure I do it in a way where I don't just launch one product and bounce. I wanted to make sure that I put enough strategy, content, capital, and effort behind it, where in first year of launching, I should be able to have at least 10 categories. By
You
then,
planned all of that in the 4 years that you
absolutely.
took.
Like, I feel like one of the mistakes I made with my first business,
Yeah.
the failure of that,
Yeah.
was definitely because I didn't think of it 1 year down the line. I was a little bit more impulsive with that launch. I was in what my parents, and we joke about it at home, Anam goes into chalang mode. So I went into chalang mode with the first business.
Okay.
And at this time, I was like, nope, I'm going to be more careful. I'm going to dot my I's, cross my T's, and keep my own backups and buffers in place. So if my first product fails, do I still have enough to go forward with the second one with feedback and do better? So yeah, I took 4 years to keep those things in place and make sure I have that security.
So, guys, the key takeaway over here is plan, and then have backups for your backups.
Always have a plan C for your plan B.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, if you had to give them 3 very essential tips, you know, a lot of our students, they are content creators, influencers, they want to have their own businesses or their brands. What are the 3 tips that you'd want to give them when they are planning on launching something new?
I think for anything new in this day and age, whether you're getting into product, service, whether you are the product as a content creator, don't forget you become the product. Data is irreplaceable. A lot of people think being a content creator has to do with, for women, putting their makeup on, looking pretty and doing transitions. But what time do you post? How often do you post? When do you post? What trend do you jump on? What do you not jump on? What's on brand for you? What's off brand for you? There's a lot of data that goes into the back end of making sure that you are catering to the kind of audience that you want to.
Right.
Because if you want to do it as a full-time job, you do need to secure sponsors.
Correct.
How are you going to do that? There's a lot of business, there's a lot of stats and metric that goes into analyzing things that are working in your favor.
Right.
For me, we have creators in the audience, you said.
Correct. Yes.
So if you've ever worked on a campaign, you know that by the end of the campaign, you share a list of stats with your client saying, this is what you got, these are the link clicks we got, these are the
Right.
number of people who viewed the video or the story. But as a creator, you don't get to know how many people clicked on the link, but how many people converted to sales.
Right.
Right? For me, that experience for the first time I got when I launched Verified.
Okay.
Because I could see an end-to-end closed loop
Right.
on not just how many link clicks I garnered to verified.in,
Right.
but how many of those actually converted to sales. That data is precious.
Right.
So I had a lot of fun with it when we had just recently launched in the first month, because every time I would get on stories and say, this is the lipstick I'm wearing, literally for the next 3 hours, my team would call me and say, this is moving. And then I started having so much fun with it that after like 10 days, halfway through the day, I would go change my lipstick shade just to go and see whether that also spikes up in sales after. And it would.
Really?
Yeah, and it would. So
Okay.
it was very interesting to see that closed loop of, okay, sending traffic to a website is easy.
Right.
How much of that do you convert to sales?
And it's a very satisfying feeling
Yes.
to see the numbers at the end
Yeah.
of the day.
So data is very important. I would say put data at the top of your priority list.
Okay.
What age group are the people you're talking to? Which cities do they live in? What what a platform like YouTube will give you data like what other channels are they watching? Who else are they following? Look into data. Your data is your best friend. It is irreplaceable.
Makes sense. So you have a very successful follower base on YouTube and on Instagram. But people don't often realize, they try to repurpose a lot of content. So they've created something for Instagram. They might want to use the same thing for YouTube. Do you agree to that?
I believe in working smart, not necessarily working hard. Hot take. I don't know if I'm supposed to say that at a college.
No, of course.
But don't work hard, work smart. If you can repurpose something with a different voiceover, if you can edit that exact same thing in a different way and make it work for a different platform, by all means do it. But you have to assess and analyze and
Right.
see what kind of response you're getting.
Of course.
Data, it goes back to data.
Of course.
But yeah, for sure, please repurpose what you can when you can.
Would you not have to change your strategies depending on the platform?
So for me, I
Yeah.
feel like my audience on YouTube is very different from my audience on Instagram.
Okay.
So you'll notice, if I'm sure everybody consumes a lot of social media over here, I see a lot of voiceovers in Hindi on YouTube,
Okay.
whereas I'll see the same video with an English voiceover on Instagram,
Okay.
right? It could be a simple tweak like that
Right.
that caters to your audience. So it doesn't have to be completely different. It also has to do with who do you want to target.
Right.
Like for me, I feel like although the two platforms for years have operated differently,
Yes.
with Reels and Shorts coming into the picture and TikTok going out of the picture for us here in India, it has got everyone to the same playing field, right? Like it's almost like there are no more rules.
Correct.
So if you want to consistently have a similar kind of an audience across different platforms, by all means, go for it. If you want to have two different audiences, then you need to tailor make for platforms. So if you asked me this exact question 3 years ago, I'd have a very different response.
Okay.
But today, I feel like with vertical content, under a minute, snackable, keep it quick, I think we're pretty much all talking to a very similar demographic in that sense.
Everyone wants content, information in like 8 seconds or less.
Yeah,
How do you deal with that? How do you keep up with that?
I hate it. I hate it. I'm a long form content watcher.
Okay.
If you tell me to sit down and make an 8-second video, I will spend 8 hours thinking about what to do. I am fully that person.
Okay.
I miss long form content. I do, from the bottom of my heart. I started working in this space
Right.
long enough for me to feel like nostalgic about when I used to write blog posts that were 1,000 words.
I don't think anyone reads.
Believe me, I know. I saw the stats of all of our blogs going down. May have cried a little bit every couple of months. Yeah, but my personal preferences will always, I'd rather sit and make a 40-minute YouTube video than a 40-second vertical video.
I think as content creators and people who want to give information, you of course want to give as much as you possibly can, but
Yeah.
your audience is not looking for that.
So I do think that there is an audience that still very much loves the longer format of
Right.
videos, right? I feel like it depends again on what platform you find joy in consuming and creating.
Okay.
So what I mean by this is, as a content consumer,
Yeah.
if I'm sitting in traffic, will I go and scroll on shorts or reels? I will. But when I actually want to sit back at the end of the day and unwind and watch something, I will go to YouTube and I will look for a 25-minute video or more, right? Because we have so many content creators here. Let me break it down very simply for
Yes.
you.
Please.
Somebody I know,
Yeah.
somebody else put this up on a story and it really resonated with me. Somebody, the creator friend, who said that she bumped into somebody at the airport who came and took a selfie with her,
Hmm.
but that woman who she bumped into couldn't remember her name.
Okay.
Because when you're scrolling on Instagram, I don't even know half the time whose content I'm watching. You're just
Consuming so much.
your brain is in spam mode because you know
Right.
this is going to end in 8 seconds.
Right.
But when you are watching someone's vlogs, you know who their cat is and you know who the neighbor is, you know what car they drive, you know, you are more invested.
Like,
Like
you don't
when
even know what the painting on the wall is.
exactly, like when I was on a trip recently and I did not know I was going to bump into so many YouTube subscribers.
Yeah.
I promise you, not one person who has bumped into me has said, I like your Instagram reels. You don't say that. Like
Right.
at least I don't get that. I get a lot of I love your vlogs. I get a lot of your parokhala is amazing and funny, or your mom's sense of humor because you're watching my vlogs.
Correct.
You're not getting my life from a 10-second video.
Correct.
Having said that, there is a new wave of creators, especially post pandemic, you know, with the boom of reels and shorts and all of these platforms, who find it easier to do short form content.
Right.
And I say to those creators, more power to you. You are the smart ones. I'm the idiot. No, truly, because you are coming on at a great time and you will be able to think.
They've gotten the
The
first
way-
movers advantage.
Yeah, you will be able to think in short form.
Yeah.
I think in long form and I have to edit then to short form in my head. It's like that thing, no, when someone asks you to speak in another language, but you think in probably English or Hindi, so you're translating in your head the whole time.
Right.
In my head, I'm translating to short form the whole time, but because I think in long form. So if you are a newer creator who is thinking in short form, that is your biggest superpower. Go with your strengths. Everyone has to know what they're good at
Right.
and what they can do, and that is how you will reach your full potential.
So what my understanding is that you also have to think from the audience's point of view, but stay true to what you are and what you like.
100%.
And only then you can deliver the right kind of content that people are going to enjoy.
Yeah, because otherwise you will just be unhappy in doing what you do.
Yeah.
Like for a while, I felt the pressure to do more trends and get on reels and dance some and do the transitions. And I'll still do it every once in a while when I need to.
Right.
But it's not what I feel fully happiest. But again, I have the advantage of already having had that credibility
Right.
where I can choose. I'm secure enough in my place to say I'm okay with doing what I do and staying in my lane because this is what I know and what I like.
Have a audience carved out for yourself
Yeah.
who's really enjoying that content, then why deviate?
So it's up to your own strategy, your personal preference, content that satisfies you also
Right.
is very important.
So you mentioned trends and reels on Instagram, TikTok, and all that. How did you decide which trend to hop onto? Because I can imagine how unreal the pressure might be. And if it's not on brand, it wouldn't make sense. But then you have the pressure. How do you decide?
May I be politically incorrect with these answers?
Please go for it.
I find trends very confusing
Okay.
because
I think most of us over here can agree.
because you jump on the trend, it's fine, but I don't want to jump on anything that I would not organically do. My team hates me for it. They will sometimes send me a trend to a song that I'm like, I wouldn't even sing that song on my deathbed. I don't want to dance to this song. You get me, right? I don't want to. No, but it's doing really well. Just do it with the transition. And I'm like, guys, you want me to lip sync? What was that ridiculous song you were pitching to me the other day? And I was like, I don't want to sing this. Don't make me do this. I don't want to do this. And no shade to anybody who wants to. If you can emotionally detach from your content and you just want to do things for the numbers, more power to you. I can't. I feel like if I put a piece of content out, it needs to be something that I look back at 5 years later and feel proud of
Right.
and not cringe. So it's I think it's a very personal preference thing. Will I find a way to make it mine? Yeah. I fully recommend that. I fully recommend finding a trend and finding your spin on it, probably bringing it to your brand, making it work for you. I'm a lot more picky, but then that's the old school blogger snob in me. That's on me. But I also struggle creatively with the factor that how much of this is left to be original versus how much are we only jumping on trends. I have these ethical dilemmas that probably curb my growth to some extent, but then I choose to keep those, and I feel like the newer creators are able to get over that, which again I say more power to them on.
You know, there's so much content, right? A trend popping up every other hour. How do you strive to be unique? Because you still want to get their attention in the limited time span that you have.
You really want me to get into trouble? No, it's tough to be unique, yeah. I wish there was a solution for this,
Okay.
but the way to grow in the short form content format is to find a way to be unique with the trend that you're jumping onto. It is very difficult. It's a lot more difficult to stand out today than it was for me 12 years ago. I did have that early movers advantage.
Yeah.
If you asked me, and I'm saying this very genuinely, not to sound demotivational, obviously, at any
No.
cost, I would be a lot more intimidated if I was starting today. Because
Right.
I would, when we started, we made mistakes. We didn't have
And it
DSLRs.
takes to make mistakes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we didn't have DSLRs.
Right.
We had to invest in a DSLR or find a photographer. Today our phones do the job. You put them on stands. When
Yeah.
I started out, ring lights used to cost 25,000 rupees. Today they sell on Amazon for like 1,000.
1,000, yeah.
So I feel like starting today, you have to start from original, because otherwise you will be
Right.
lost
Correct.
in the sea of people. Is it tough? Yes. Is it worth it? Fully, yes. Like, I would not give up my job and trade it for any other job in the world. If there is one thing I'm so grateful for in my existence,
Yeah.
it is that I get to do this. Because I'm someone, and if there's anyone else like this, I guess you'll relate. I can have the attention span of an eyelash.
Yeah.
I can get bored. But for me, no 2 days are the same. If I get bored, I move on to the next part of the job. Whether you are ideating, working on business, looking at strategy, thinking of which brands you want to collaborate with, what events you want to do, don't want to do. No 2 days in my life are the same.
Okay.
So there's a lot of effort, but is that effort worth it? 500%.
It shows. I mean, all the accolades that you collected over the years, it shows that it's 100% worth it.
Thank you. Yeah, no, I feel I'm one of those people that very strongly believes that if you truly enjoy what you do, work will not feel like work. And I love that about what I do, because even sometimes in my sleep, I will wake up, write something down, and go back to sleep. So I feel like I love that about it. It's
See, I do that too, but then my team gets really annoyed and they stop responding. So can relate. But you know, you're a content creator and you have your own brand. Now, on the content side, of course, there's trends to keep up with. On the brand side, you have the customers' demands to keep up with. How do you balance it both?
I think compartmentalizing
Okay.
goes a really long way.
Okay.
I live my life on Excel sheets. I have everything broken down on my calendar. I Even if I have to call someone back, it will go on my to-do list. I think that the biggest form of respect you can give yourself and your job, and just in life, is to be disciplined. Because when you are not disciplined at anything, you're truly giving a disservice to whatever it is you've committed to. Like,
Right.
I am someone, if you have told me you will call me at 10, and if you call me at 10:15, I will know. And I will probably not schedule another call with you. I am that person. I'm fully that person. In my head, I have Amitabh Bachchan saying Anushasan in my head right now. But I'm fully that person. So I manage because I believe in compartmentalizing. I believe in making lists, and I color code everything, and I'm obsessed with looking at my Excel sheet 50 times a day. If things are not on my calendar or not on my to-do list, they don't exist. So as long as you can find the discipline
Yeah.
in figuring your life out, for me, visually is important.
Yeah.
I think you'll be fine.
So, guys, a good first step would be learn Excel, learn how to use formatting, put everything on paper.
Yeah.
And so, you also mentioned, you know, I read this about in I think a Vogue article or something, and there you mentioned that Verified as a brand focuses a lot on inclusivity, right? And I've seen the campaigns, and you're really accomplishing that.
Thank
You're achieving that day on day with every campaign, every post that goes out on Instagram.
Okay.
Why and how? Because everyone today wants to do it. They say they want to do it, but not everyone can put it into action.
I think for me, it's just really important to talk to everybody. I don't know why others aren't doing it. Actually, I think people are starting to do it.
Yeah.
So I want to give due credit to
Right.
everyone who's making an effort.
Right.
I'm very fortunate to be in a position where I can, because I have the credibility or the journey of being a creator that has enabled me to understand the importance of it. But even if that's not something that you feel passionate about ethically, at least look at it from the business side. It's smart business to talk to everyone.
Yeah.
Wha- in my marketing module, when I did my BMM, I remember having this conversation where, are you guys too young to know when BlackBerry came out and it was trending? I don't know how. Yeah. So, they had come out with that fantastic ad that was do what you love what you do.
Yes.
You guys remember that ad? Okay, YouTube it. If you don't know what I'm talking about, please make sure you do. It was a really cool ad and we loved it. When I say we loved it, in the sense, as a BMM class, we have dissected that ad and it was a really cool ad. So we were really surprised when we went into class that day, and the professor said, yeah, but I didn't like it. And I was like, really? Like, it had everyone in it and it was this, it was that. And I could not find a single thing to pick apart about it. And he said, they did not include everyone. And I was like, that ad had a lot of people, but as a person in my early 20s or late teens, I did not realize that ad did not have a single person over 50 in its visuals. And so my professor,
Yeah.
who was over 50, obviously felt left out. And I'll never forget that. It'll stay with me for a very long time. I graduated 11 years ago, so clearly it's still with me. And I remember saying to myself that day that no matter what I do, I will always make sure I'm talking to everyone, because I don't want anyone to feel how he's feeling right now.
Right.
Because he was just very like, what are you guys talking about? They weren't talking to everyone. I didn't feel like they were talking to me.
Right.
And I think it's just very important to talk to everyone, because it's the human, decent thing to do, but also it's just smart business. Why would you not? Why would you not want to talk to everyone? Again, when I started my podcast in February, and it was through my learnings with people that I've met and through people that we featured in campaigns.
Yes.
With our verified launch campaign in October 2021, we had a friend of ours who is a very proud transgender female. And I remember having this conversation with her about how she started wearing makeup and how she would hide wearing makeup when she used to, at that point of time, publicly identify as a man.
Okay.
And I remember her physically crying and saying that I never knew I could be part of a beauty campaign. And to me, like, I have goosebumps. I'll never forget that feeling.
Yeah.
Right? So I would be stupid to leave such a huge demographic out of a potential customer base. Think of it business-wise if you don't
Yeah,
want to look at it
true.
ethically. If you are someone who does not align with it on a human level, okay, I may disagree, but okay. But then look at it as a business. I feel like it's just a human decency thing to make sure you're including everyone, and then it's just also smart business. So why not? It's just that simple.
So I think this is something that people are now striving to do. Not everyone's been able to execute it all that well, but more power to you for taking this initiative up.
Thank you.
Please.
Thank you.
Since we're also talking about the things of the past, we spoke about BlackBerry. Let's talk about things of the future. What is your take on AI?
Ooh, it's very interesting. I use the word interesting because I feel like there's definitely pros and cons that we'll figure out with time.
Okay.
I think that if we find effective ways to work out AI, it'll be really interesting. Just last evening, my husband we also work together.
Yeah.
So just last evening, we were sitting and looking at a website that helps you slice out vertical videos from long form videos. And I found that, yeah. And
can you find the name? I'll tell my contact.
yeah, I'm going to send the link across. I will. It's just very interesting because I was like, wait, I don't have to ask my editor to break his head on a vertical edit from this horizontal video. And it turned out quite nice. So
Okay.
I think it's interesting. I think that the next few years will give us better insight as to how to use it correctly,
Right.
efficiently. But with everything on the internet and with everything, I think digital, you have to make sure you use it the right way. That's very important.
What do you think is the downside of AI in digital?
Not just digital. I feel like the biggest thing about AI might be that it might actually replace jobs right? And that is not something that I'm thrilled about, because I think that with digital, and especially like we call it the post geo phase of our lives, we'd hope that we'd have the opportunity to employ more people. So
Right.
that is a little bit of a threat there, because you never know how that might go. But like I said, with all pros there are cons, and then with cons you find solution to the cons.
Correct.
So you just have to give it a few years to really see what direction it would go in.
So I think the smart thing here to do would be for these students at least to learn how to use those AI tools so their jobs are not in threat.
To learn how to use the, yeah, that's one way to go.
Another thing that students quite often wonder about is if they want to start as a content creator. If you were to go for a job, there's going to be a certain package that's already defined.
Mhm.
But as a content creator, as an influencer, there's so much ambiguity. Different brands pay different things for people with different number of followers. How should they go about to in charging? If let's say I was a content creator myself, how should I charge? How should I quote?
So I think that in any public figure space, there is ambiguity that has to do with commercials, right?
Right.
Whether you're looking at a model, an actor, a content creator, a singer, a dancer, it applies in all those
Right.
aspects. I think in the space of a content creator, what you should definitely look at is what value you bring to the table.
Okay.
In terms of someone with more followers could charge more. But if you have lesser followers, but your production aesthetic is better,
Yeah.
is you can up the way you charge. Your engagement has a lot to do with the way you charge.
Correct.
Again, going back, if you're someone with a really high engagement rate, and you have a stronger production aesthetic, that is another bonus to consider.
Correct.
I think the way you negotiate, really, truly, it all comes down to that.
Okay.
And that is something I would say is true even for jobs that don't have
Right.
anything to do with being a public figure. Negotiating is really important, because I think that a lot of, I speak to the women in the room for a quick second, tend to undersell themselves. And everyone at large, I think, needs to understand and uh, verbally bring to the fore the value that they can bring to the table.
Right.
And not just as someone who is starting out, because remember that today you'll tell yourself that I should take this because it will just get me started.
Correct.
But there's two aspects to this. Your starting has something to do with future appraisals, for one,
Right.
and that applies to content creators as well, because
Okay.
you change your rates depending on certain either
Your
follower
experience,
benchmarks or
right.
years or accolades. Everyone has their own filter, and there is
Right.
truly no right or wrong when it comes to that. And second is, make sure that you are fair and just in what you're quoting, because if you are deliberately underselling, you are ruining the market for everyone else. And eventually, that is doing yourself a disservice as well. Because at some point you will want to up your numbers, or at some point you will want to you will want to change your job,
Correct.
and somewhere that will come back. So make sure that you truly know your value, figure out what's a good number for you, and add a 20%.
And there's no harm in being boastful.
Absolutely.
Nice. What do you think about students gaining a formal education in digital marketing before they jump into, any kind of a job or a content creator role?
No, I think it's fab. In fact, we were just discussing
Yes.
this. I wish that this had been going on for a lot longer, because I feel like in my in my line of work, I have to train a lot of people that come in to understand the importance of stats and look at what's working. Whereas if someone knew exactly, at least on paper, then I would give the practical guidance. It would make a lot of things super easy. So, funny story, in 2016, when I hired my first ever manager,
Yeah.
while she was with me part-time, she did a course here at IIT. And I
Lovely.
saw a significant difference in the way she could manage things before and through the course and
Right.
after. And today she's the founder of her own agency,
Oh, that's
and
great.
she helps out with Verified. And I feel like it's just really cool, because if you know more and you have the acumen for it, but you're trained in a certain way, it just goes a long way. So I'm a big fan of all sorts of training.
Some of our students are also, about to graduate, and if you're hiring, we'd really love to know and send them your way.
Yeah, I'd love that. We're always looking for more talent.
What do you think are the three holy grails of marketing when it comes to your brand Verified?
With Verified, I kind of go back to the point about data, because even for a brand, even just as much for a brand as it is for a creator, understanding data is really, really important. I think that being less intimidated by complicated processes is a very important part of it. Like, I was someone who used to get very intimidated by the idea of performance marketing, for example.
Okay.
And I was like, I'm going to have to break my head on understanding ROAS, and this is going to be very. But when I got into it, I actually started enjoying it. Maybe because, again, I like data. I started like lapping it up, and next thing you know, I was reading articles on it and having discussions with my agency. So I feel like anything that's intimidating, just dive in, I would say, because starting actually can help you smooth those shows out a little bit. And yeah, I think as with most things, don't wait on it, just do it. Like, you have to have that quick movers advantage. One may not necessarily have a first movers advantage on anything,
Right.
but moving quickly in
But-
a sense that whenever you can,
Yeah.
make sure you do. I think that we wait on things too much and then we over assimilate. So don't do that to yourself.
And what do you wait when you respond to social media trolls, or how do you in general deal with negativity on social media?
I feel actually personally very fortunate that I don't get that much hate on social media. I feel really very grateful about that aspect about my
Right.
life. But when I do, I love replying to them.
Really?
Yeah.
So you don't just let them rot in a
I
corner.
mean, sometimes I block them if you caught me on a bad day, because we all have good days and bad days. I'll block them. But on a day when I'm feeling sassy, I'll go and give it to them. I'll really go and give it to them, because why not? It's my page, it's your page. You're allowed to curate it to a way that works for you.
Yeah.
You can't go into someone's house and call them names and then expect you to serve them chai.
Right.
That's not,
Of course.
so why should I be serving you chai on my page? Go somewhere else.
Where do you recommend these kids can learn this kind of sass that you have?
I think everyone has their own sass inside. I think they'll be just
Super
fine.
trigger to bring that out.
Yeah. But I think that I'm also a serial blocker.
Serial blocker.
Yeah.
Okay, that's
So
a-
it depends on what day you catch me. If you catch me on a day where I feel like giving it back to you, I'll give it back to you. And another day, I'll block you. So, see, I feel whatever protects your mental peace.
Yeah.
If you feel like giving it back to them makes you want to give a pat on your back, do it. But also don't break your head on useless people. Like, whatever protects your mental peace.
I think, yeah, like mental peace is something that people don't really talk about as much. And it is something that needs to be focused upon, especially in the content creator space. So another unique thing about your brand Verified, I was going through the page also. I came across a lot of products and I'm probably gonna buy some of them. But the names, they're so unique.
Yeah.
So I saw a lipstick that's called it's a bullet lipstick called 5'3".
Yeah.
There's one called Not Your Princess.
Yeah.
There's one called Late Ella.
Yeah.
So these are such unique names, especially for something that has to be sold like an e-commerce product, right? Most people would go for something that's more SEO friendly.
Mm-hmm.
So why this? This is a very unique thing.
So, when it comes to a brand that's on its own, it's one thing. But I feel like when it's an influencer, content creator's brand, there are a lot of privileges and perks to twisting things the way you want them to be.
Okay.
So, for the bullet lipsticks that you mentioned, that was the product line we launched the brand with.
Okay.
So, I wanted it to be very personal because I wanted people to wonder what the story behind them was.
Okay.
Right? So people who follow me in general on a regular basis will know that Letala comes from the point of view of don't be grossed out. I eat a lot of blue lays with Nutella. It's a killer combination. It's a killer yeah. Don't eat it till you've tried it. It's blue lays with Nutella.
Shy at your own risk.
Don't sue me. And because I've been having that for a very long time, one of my assistants back in 2000 and one of my assistants, Trisha, I should name her, Trisha, one of my assistants back in 2016, I think, she said, you know what, this should be a dish and these brands should come together and give you a commission for sales. And this became a joke. And I think I mentioned it in some vlog and it picked up from there and Letella stuck. And now every time people are eating blue lays with Nutella, they tag me in their stories and it just stuck. So my brown lipstick, which is the true Nutella brown shade, is called Letella. That's kind of where it
Yeah.
comes from. Like I have a berry tone lipstick that's called Jerry Berry. My husband's name is Gerard. I call him Jerry, and now his nickname at home would be like Jerry Berry's doing this, and it just kind of stuck. And people would pick up on these things in the vlogs and comment these terms, and it's just one of those things that your community that follows you loyally will know.
Kind of
So
becomes a USP of your brand as well.
yeah, it makes it more unique, like you
Yes.
said, right?
Yes.
The first ever blog post, I want to say 2012 or something, when I first time wrote about red lips as a trend report when lots of celebrities were wearing red lips.
Yeah.
And, beauty at that point in time was very different from the way beauty is
Correct.
today, courtesy social media, I would say. That the name of that blog post was The Bright Bold Red Lip. And then
Bright gold red lip.
Yeah, and then I abbreviated that, and my red lipstick in that collection is called BBRL.
Oh, I wondered where that came
Yeah.
from.
So I feel like a lot of like my mom's favorite lipstick in that collection, because my mom is a big fan of nude lipsticks. My mom's name is Shabana. And so yes, thank you. So my dad calls her Shabo. And so when she picked her favorite lipstick, I didn't tell her immediately. But when I showed her all the names,
Yeah.
that lipstick is called Shabo, which is her nickname.
Right.
So I wanted it to be personal because I feel like that way it is unique to you. How many of us have seen 5 different brands with lipsticks called pink mauve and soft beige and medium sun, and it's all out there.
Too many to remember.
Yeah, so what can I do to make it different to make you remember it, right? So that was again really important to me.
Does it have any kind of effect on the search volumes or the traffic that comes to your website?
I don't think so. I should ask my agency this question. But if it does, I'm willing to take that hit, because to me, what's very important is that once somebody buys it, there is a good chance you will be like, okay, let me place it as an example. You ask me, what shade am I wearing? Like,
Right.
what am I wearing? I'm wearing Berry Crispy right now. And you'll be like, oh, it's called Berry Crispy. That's a weird name.
Yeah.
Or you haven't really heard that name.
Yeah.
But the one I'm wearing right now is a liquid lipstick, and our entire range in the liquid lipstick is names of desserts.
Desserts.
They're all desserts. So we have a chili chocolate bar, we have a cinnamon latte cake, we have a carrot caramel cake.
Does it taste like that?
They smell like that. They all smell like the dessert that they're named after. So I feel like it's just it draws recall value and again makes it very unique. So there's 2 approaches to the way we do things, right? One is following the traditional path and doing what is commonly done, commercially done. And then there's the other where you add personality to it and make it unique. And will my SEOs take a hit? Maybe. But have I left those names out here for you to think over? The next time you eat a red velvet cupcake, you'll remember that my red lipstick is called a red velvet cupcake in the liquid lipsticks.
There's
So I feel
definitely
like
high recall value.
that's what I'm saying. I want that connection. It's what you choose.
So then you've given your brand a proper personality, and that's what's going to stay with your audience, and that's what brings them back.
That's the hope.
That's a really smart way to go about introducing a brand in a market which is already quite saturated.
Thank you.
The students over here, they're about the same age as you were when you started. If you could time travel and give your younger self an advice, what would it be?
That's a toughie. No, I would do the exact same thing
Exactly the same.
I can't think of a say. I mean, I was gonna say yes to everything, but I truly have said yes to everything. I don't mean to sound like I'm saying, oh, I did everything right. I made a lot of mistakes, but I feel like any mistake you make teaches you something from it, and then you make sure you like literally never go back to that again. So, I mean, if I did really have to give myself some piece of advice, I would probably tell myself to calm down and breathe a little bit, because it all works out. And yeah, it's follow your gut. I've always followed my gut, and sometimes like there's no bulletproof, foolproof way of always being
Right.
right, like I said. But even the times that I think I tried something and I failed, I learned like 20 things out of that, and then those help you in different ways. So I would just tell myself to be more patient, probably. I'm a very
So-
impatient being.
So the key takeaways here are be patient,
Listen to your gut,
listen to your gut,
and it's okay to,
fail,
yeah,
but say yes. Get experiences.
say yes
get
to
experiences and
everything.
learn.
Say yes. And if you see someone else say yes to something and it didn't do well for them, doesn't mean it won't do well for you. We're
At least
all
try.
different. We're all different personalities. Our lived journeys and lived experiences are very different. The way you respond in a situation may be very different from with the way somebody else responds in a situation.
Right.
And I think that you cannot draw comparisons in that aspect. So say yes to everything at least once.
I want to try that. If you are not a content creator or an influencer or a brand owner,
I would be very sad.
good to know. But if you had to pick an alternative career path for yourself, what would you do?
I would have been working in finance.
Really?
I
Finance?
love numbers. I told you I love data.
Yes.
I love numbers. I love like when my content creator friends and I get together and with the few people that I'm very like close with and we'll talk about investments and we'll talk about this. I'm a complete geek and they hate the times when they have to sit down with their CAs and break their heads and I love it. I love Excel sheets. I'm very middle brain. Like I love the creative side, but I also love the data and numbers. I would have been working in finance if I wasn't doing what I was
So this love for data, was it always there or it's developed over time?
It was always there. You can judge me, but I'm an SSC student. Like I went to Pettit in Bandra, and my favorite pastime, God, I'm about to get so judged. My favorite pastime was putting on headphones and solving Group C, Group T geometry and algebra sums. When my nephew is doing like algebra now, I will still totally go take his textbook and solve it on the side to see whether I got it right. Like Pythagoras theorem, loved it. Still love it. So I would have been working in finance. I would have been doing something with numbers.
I hope everyone's made notes about this. It's going to be very helpful when you do your final capstone project. Okay, with that, we are wrapping up the session. Anam, thank you very much.
Thank
I think
you.
I've enjoyed learning a lot from you, just talking to you.